drive things off the wall.
That's us, man. 24/7.
You should expect the unexpected. I mean,
Make it known that this is all about being 100% authentic.
We are live now.
So, with that being said, let's jump right in.
For sure. So we have a special guest coming in.
Oh no, not him. I'm pretty sure he's one of the people. Oh, oh.
So we got a special guest coming in.
Look, man, they just let anybody into this place.
I know, man. I know. But I think it's necessary to have this guest come in, so that they can actually give their opinion, because this is one of the opinions that was interesting to me as he connects his audio.
He can't hear us. You good now?
Are you good now? Can you hear us?
good now.
Hey.
So I want to introduce the audience to my brother Jamal Breland. Grew up with this man.
Chill, yo.
Mr. Breland.
Chill, yo. We're not gonna do that.
What?
We just
We're not
calling
doing
him by his full government. We're not gonna call him by his name that we all know him as.
Mr. Breland.
Yeah, we are. But I'm just saying, everybody's not gonna know him as that. So before we start calling him,
They need to get to know him as that.
About what we affectionately call him by.
They need to get to know him as that.
We need to introduce him formally, man. You know, we got to be professional. You know what I'm saying?
This ain't
Trying to.
So, Mumu, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, brother.
Okay.
You just slide it in there, right? Hey.
All right, Momo, go ahead. All right.
Yeah, so I'm Mumu. Now, now Jamal. Everybody or a lot of people know me as Mumu. Repping Soundview, the Soundview section of the Bronx.
Whatever have you. I'm from Soundview.
I currently reside in Texas,
That's
so
what's up, man.
I'm displaced right now.
So look, I wanted to bring you on, man, because obviously, for those who don't know, this is like my brother from another mother, man. I've known this man for pretty much 3/4 of my life. Grew up together in Soundview, seen a lot, did a lot. So my brother is one of the people who actually felt some type of way about the bando establishment. And I wanted him to come on because I wanted y'all to hear his perspective on why he feels the way he feels. Keep in mind, we grew up in the same neighborhood, seeing the same things, but it's two totally different perspectives. So setting the table, Mumu, why do you feel the way you feel? Well, tell the audience how you feel about this establishment and the picture that I sent you the other day.
I feel that it set us back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue that we have as a people is that we're trying to preserve the culture how we think the culture should be preserved, right? If you look back to actually where we came from,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't, we didn't start out this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't start out with the being loud and boisterous and the long fingernails and thinking that that's what the culture is, and that really isn't the culture. That is, I think, a subculture of who we are. And what establishments like that do is they help to further the stereotype, not only from people of other races, but our own people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure there are times where you may have saw somebody walking down the street and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from that person, right? Because of their appearance, like, they're sagging their pants all the way down, or, whatever the case may be, right? It's about representation. I understand what they're trying to do, or what I believe they're trying to do. However, I think that it doesn't do us a service as a people. Now, if the restaurant is just about the theme of that particular movie, or the theme of an era, I got it. But it's a mixture of a lot of different things, and it seems like the message that they're trying to convey is that this is our culture, and I personally don't feel like that's a good a message.
So you said something interesting, Mumu. You said if the theme of the restaurant is of a particular era, it could be argued. I'm gonna play advocate right here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. It could be argued that the crack era is a significant era to everybody who was 80s babies all the way up to late 90s. The crack era was very, very, very significant to our existence. So majority of the business creators now, younger or right around our age, this is what they're doing, and it's new. It's kind of like I'm inviting you into my past, into my history. Now, I said earlier before you got on that, I definitely do believe there is a bit of corporate consumption of black pain, black trauma in this space. I do believe that. But it could be argued that this place is a nod to the crack era. You know what I mean? And it's not a prideful era, but it is a significant one nonetheless.
I get that. I don't know if significant is a word that I would use, because significant in this context almost sounds, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, and I'm not really trying to parse words, but it almost seems like it is something to be glorified. When you say it's this significant, when I say it's a significant era, I think, or when you say significant era, I think something to aspire to, something that was great.
You're equating significance with good.
Right, and I think, and I know you don't mean it in that, or I don't believe you mean it in that manner, but it just seems like that's something that we want to put on display, something that we want to put on, that we want to showcase.
No, I agree. I agree 100% in that regard. But I think what you're saying is exactly what we mentioned a bit earlier. How we perceive that, based off of your experiences, how you perceive that, and you can only see the negative in that space, because of your frame of reference. For me, like I told them, I never saw that growing up. So what I saw was like the Wheaties boxes, the Sega Genesis, you know what I'm saying? The All-Star cups, that I remember them cups from McDonald's. You know what I mean? I remember. Yeah, I remember all of that stuff. So I could see, I focused in on the positives. Yeah, I knew what the overall theme was supposed to be, but I could focus on the positives because of my frame of reference. So for you, your frame of reference, the negative jumped out way more than the rest of that stuff. And I think that speaks to what we were mentioning earlier. It doesn't matter what their intention is. It's the person who looks at it and how they feel about it. And
what lens are you looking at it from?
Correct. That's what makes it significant or not. And I like I said, I understand the logic of people feeling like it's setting the culture back or it's not doing anything positive. I definitely understand that, because that's the lens you look at it from, because you got to realize people were in that environment and it is a trigger point for them. I don't want to celebrate that.
I have a question. It's a stretch. Very stretchy. Very stretchy. So why, I understand the culture, right? But why are we assuming that that's really, I know it's Black owned, right, Devin? But why
I'm assuming so, and it's in the hood.
Right. So why are we assuming that it's only Black though? Like why do we assume that it's only our culture? Like we know the whole thing was back in the day, it wasn't just Black people on welfare, right? They said more white people were on welfare than us.
Correct.
Right. So they could have grown up in those same kind of things. So to say that it's all about our culture, you're making it about our culture. No one said that it has to directly depict Black people or our culture. it could be about other cultures as well. I mean, other white people grow up like that.
This is true.
Right.
And I agree with you. And you're right. Because the other thing that I meant that I failed to mention was that it wasn't just us going in there to get the chicken and the food and experience what they were seeing. There was some white people in there as well. But I think that based on the stuff that was in there, that equated and leaned more towards us as Black people as opposed to any other nationality because of what was in there.
Right. And, and
I,
yeah,
so
and I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm a hold on real quick, Mumu, because
yeah.
I just pulled it up. It is at least one of the brothers is Black. Richard Burke III, he's one of the owners. I wasn't able to find a picture of the other owner, Terrence J. Bradshaw, right? However, this article does talk about how they have a community service focus, right? Like this was created out of necessity. Something here about them wanting to open up a school, and they had a GoFundMe, and it really wasn't working. It wasn't generating the money that they wanted. It says the bando has a calling other than serving wings. Burke and Bradshaw met in 2017 while pursuing their dreams as educators. Burke, a Detroit native, moved to Atlanta in 2014, and Bradshaw had been working to mentor at-risk youth. While working at Kip Visions Academy, they came together to form Building Better Brothers. Building Better Brothers, their mentorship program, started out as taking boys to get pizza to talk. Then it turned into an opportunity to be role models for them in the community. It's so it continues on, basically saying like this was the bando came about as a result of them needing to fund, I believe, and grow their mentorship. So I understand.
It was a means to another thing.
This article now again, this article was written from a specific viewpoint to speak to the positives. But to Mumu's point, this is one hell of a way to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like you are literally, I don't know how, if I'm doing a mentorship program, I don't know how referencing crack on the stove and 40s is really driving home the point of, now, if this would have had a whole hip hop focus, I get it. This ain't got just that.
Right. And I agree with, what Walt and what Crystal was saying. It is about perspective, right? The lens that you look at it through. And also like with Crystal, because I do it to people all the time, it might not just be, Black culture that it's referencing, right? So, but at the same time, it is that trigger that Walt's talking about, because something that Devin and I know that Devin and I talk about all the time, and another one of our friends, DeMar, what we talk about all the time is that we are the statistic that should not have made it out of those conditions.
Right. Yeah.
So when I see that, I don't associate that with, it could have been white people, which I know, any race of people that are put in that particular situation, may, have the same result, whether it's Black, white, Asian. That is irrelevant. I think the race of the person, but if they're put in that same situation that we were put in, then yes, I understand. So, but yeah, it is that frame of reference is the driving factor in how you receive the place, and really anything in life. Because again, you see a group of guys and you're walking down the street, you're like, I'm probably going to get jumped, right? Or, robbed or something like that. Just depend on where you're coming from, right? Yeah. And so when I see that, I'm like, okay, Nintendo, and then I'm like, okay, well, there's beer cans on the floor. Wait a minute, right? Like, what era is that? What era is that referencing? I can pull out the Nintendo, I can pull out, the posters on the wall. But then when you start seeing like the beer cans, then it's like, okay, so what are we really doing here? What are we really saying? Who are we really referencing? So it is a trigger, and that that perspective comes into play, like what was talking about. That makes me think about exactly what Chris was talking about. you're talking about me. You're talking about my culture, right? So that's where my frame of reference comes from.
And here's another clip from that article. Without money, their dreams of building a school will be significantly set back. That's when they started to notice a pattern. There were restaurants profiting off their community, but never putting money back into the neighborhood. They didn't intend to get into the restaurant industry, but they wanted to make something, something in the hood, by the hood, for the hood. They feel like the bando was created to help reach their goals and give back to the community. So I guess from their lens, a Detroit and an Atlanta native, their lens is, you all know what this is. You're familiar with this environment. Come support in a place that you're comfortable, and we're going to put back into the hood and make it better for everybody. I don't agree with that rationale. I don't agree with that rationale. I feel like this is a stretch. I think you could have done the same thing with the exact same decor. Take out the beer cans, take out the 40 bottles, leave out the baking soda. Everything else, to me, could have been kept. You could have kept it like a little a dirty project building if that was the look you wanted to go for. You could have kept it like that. But I feel like leave out some of the other negative imagery, just because then it becomes the profiting off of pain, and then it's a trigger for some folks.
So let me ask you this real quick, because you're right. I totally agree and get everything you're saying, but let me ask you, if you leave out the beer cans and you leave out everything else that's associated with that, are you truly being authentic to what it is you're trying to capture? And maybe that's a question that, you know, they was asking themselves, which is why they put that stuff in there. Because the truth is, that stuff is a part of the hood, just like how everything else was within that space.
I mean, with homie coming from Detroit,
I say you could do it though.
He made that, may be him.
Okay.
But I say you could do it just because it's kind of one of them things like, don't air my dirty laundry out in public. What goes on in this house stays in this house. You know what I'm saying? I feel like not everybody needs to see that part of life, because that part is not, like Mumu said, it doesn't need to be a celebration.
Yeah, I don't think that's germane to, you know, the purpose of the restaurant, right? And then it's called the bando. So it's not like you're really saying, hey, you know, come with us into this cultural experience that is of Indian Americans, or you know,
but that's what I'm saying. Mumu, like you with the name,
we know what the bando is.
We know what it's
supposed to be. And
exactly, to my point of not, you know, cleansing the other stuff out of there. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man.
It's called the bando. Like, you already know what to expect when you end something like that.
But I feel like you could have. They could have definitely spun it a bit further along to push their agenda of building the community. You can call it the bando, but come up with an acronym for bando, or as you're leaving.
It's the acronym.
Right. But I'm saying, I mean,
abandoned building, abandoned house.
No, but I mean, find a way to spin it to fit your now positive narrative, your positive intent, or maybe the checkout counter is maybe a transition room into whatever the next life is. You know what I'm saying? Or the next positive life, like a step up. So like imagine if like the bando was in the basement, but in order to check out, you got to go upstairs. And as you go upstairs, the walls are lined with nothing but positive imagery. And then you go into the cash register, or that you exit the building in a room that is nothing but a celebration of all that is Black excellence, to speak to the growth and the development and the progress out of the space. I feel like you can push your narrative a little bit better. Now, I mean, I don't know what their money's like, and I don't know what the situation is, but it ends up being a thing where you're triggering. I mean, you're profiting off of Black pain, and you're saying, well, they're doing it, why can't we do it? You know what I'm saying? But we at least we giving back. It's like, to me, it kind of sounds like this is the dope boy saying, yeah, I know I sell dope in the hood, but at least I'm giving to the community center after with some of the money. But yeah, the kids is going to the community center, you serving their moms. Like, that don't make it much better. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And to kind of tap into what Walter's saying, um, to be honest, I would never go there
Yeah.
just because, right? I don't want to be a part of that. I understand the end, but I don't want to be a part of that because to me it seems like a celebration. If I open a storefront or if I do anything that I like that, I'm bringing you into like you want to discuss that. You want to have that frame of reference. Do what we're doing right now. Have a podcast. Talk about all the things that happened in that era, and how we get better and all that. But to have that on display to me is like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. Yeah, this was Shark Tank. I'll be out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be out.
And that's
Crystal,
good.
what you got, Crystal?
What say you, Crystal? You've been quiet.
I'm still on the, I feel like it's something to like those guys probably came from that, and maybe it was their way of like, releasing whatever it is they had about their past,
Right.
Doing that. So even and just thinking about what Walt was saying as far as like how it could go into like they could have morphed it into like going upstairs and positive things coming out of that. Does that still change the fact that you're entering in through a bando? It still doesn't change the fact that it's trauma for some people.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you're ending in a positive note, but I'm still looking at the trauma that I had before.
No, I get it. And I mean, that's why you can't be mad at Mumu and anybody who feels the way he feels. I couldn't go there. You know what I mean? Like there's certain
Yeah.
it's a trigger for him and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine and well. Yeah. But I feel like in that same lane, we have to acknowledge that what they're doing is positive. If they're funneling that money back into a mentorship program and it's keeping kids out the bando and the goal and the focus is to push the kids away from that life, I can't be too mad at that. Now, granted, I wish they could have come up with a better closing. You know what I mean? Like, let's finish this thing off a little bit better. But I mean, they got a point, man. Like, again, it's like the dope boy says, like, I know I'm serving in the hood, but at least I'm giving out turkeys. I mean, Nino gave out turkeys on
right. That's what I was gonna say. Nino Brown was giving out them turkeys.
You know what I'm saying? Nino gave out turkeys. So it's not like he completely turned his back on the hood. Did that make him any less of a monster? No, not really.
Yeah, but that's a different conversation though, because that's saying, all right, so I'm just gonna accept the fact that he's giving out these turkeys, but he's killing like a third of my people in the hood.
But that's
I'm okay with that because I'm gonna get this good turkey. Yeah,
that's what people do.
But that's how Mumu feels right now. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get these good chicken wings, but you're literally celebrating a life that is killed.
But he wasn't
countless.
We don't know if he was the one killing people.
Who, Nino?
No, the guy that owns the bando.
No, I'm not saying that. Not him personally.
No, we're not saying that.
Not him personally, but by creating this establishment that seems to celebrate such a negative point in our culture.
So Crystal, and I promise, yeah, I can see because I saw the thing. No, it's a genuine question. So I mean, because I think it's also about representation, right? So when you have these people going in there, do you feel like it's not perpetuating a stereotype? Like people feel like, okay, this is where we're from. This is how we need to behave. When I was in Atlanta, maybe the last time or the time before that, I don't know, Devin, if you remember, I told you, I was like, I went to this spot to get something to eat, but I felt like I couldn't relate to the people. I felt like they were totally different people than, I guess, I don't know. Again, it could be the military me. It could. I was
going to say you got to put that. You got to give some context because you done been around the world literally. Yeah, so you done seen some things.
Yeah, it could be. But I felt like, and I felt bad.
Why couldn't you relate to them?
Yeah, I was like, man, I can't relate to them. Like, I don't understand the language, and I don't understand why they're behaving like this, and like, Why, you know, so
I'm like that too.
to me, it's like, but to me, it just seems like it's helping to perpetuate a stereotype. And that's part of the reason why I wouldn't patronize that restaurant. That's the reason why, you know, I wouldn't want to be around something like that, because I don't see that. Although I understand now the backstory, now that Walt, you know, brought that to our attention, but it just doesn't seem like to me like something that I want to, like I would want to patronize, because it just seems like to me I'm just perpetuating that, because all I'm thinking about is watching the news every night and seeing what these kids are doing in Atlanta, what they're doing in the Bronx, what they're doing in Chicago, and like where are they getting this mentality from? Like what is it doing? What are we doing to promote that? Right? Because it's coming from somewhere.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's necessarily coming from us, but the bando doesn't help, I think. I don't think it helps.
So Dev and I talked about that same thing, Mumu. We talked about they got this way of thinking from our generation, right? We failed them by not educating them that this life is not a celebration. This life is a cautionary tale. These stories are cautionary. They're not celebrations. They're not meant for you to emulate. They're meant for you to learn from and do better by. But because we didn't, our generation didn't properly describe that to them. Well, I'm not gonna say prioritize. We just didn't describe it, right? And you could call a million reasons why, whether it was prison, whether it was the grave, you know, whether it was just we got it and then got out and never went back to reach a hand. Because I mean, I've talked to Dev about, I've talked to other people. I always feel like the one major difference between this era of this generation's street guys and our era and our generations of street guys, I remember the dudes who was on the corner served as de facto mentors to two sets of young guys. The young guys who they knew were going to fall into the life they were in, they mentored them basically on the way the game worked. So you knew the rules, you knew the street rules, like they talk about in all the gangster movies. There's a code. Those guys taught these younger guys who ended up being our generation the code. You know how to operate it in the streets, right? And then they served as kind of de facto kicked out and disjointed from the rest of the family, big brothers to all of us who they knew had a shot to make it out. You got a shot to make it out. I don't want to see you out here doing none of this foolishness, because they knew our situation. They understood that we had an opportunity and they pushed us, and they allowed, or even if they didn't push, they just shielded us from so much of the foolishness. You know what I'm saying? Like we would have had to really actively work. I can remember like my block was like kind of like a safe haven from the rest of the foolishness, because it was nothing but old people on my block, me and my homeboys, and all of us had our parents around. And the street dudes made sure that we weren't bothered. We could kick it with them. We could kick it with them. We could hang out with them, but we could only go but so far into that life. I don't want to see you out here doing this. I'm not going to ask you to run drugs. I'm not going to ask you to sell for me. I'm not going to ask you to do none of that stuff, right? You got a shot to get out of here. I want you to, because you could be better than me. And I feel like our generation, we had those types of guys. Not everybody have it, but I mean, I feel like I'm blessed in a weird kind of way to say I had older dope boys who cared enough to say like, look, I don't want to see you in this life. Get out of here. Like, I see your mom and dad care about you. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we had that. The guys who ended up in the streets who were our age, once they got out that life, they never came back. They didn't teach those young boys. I got homeboys that moved far out the city and they don't go back.
So can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? So just thinking about, you know, what we're the bando and what we're talking about, and Walt, you're talking about on the, you know, the corner and all that. And so does it change things? I already know what y'all gonna say. Does it change things when you talk about someone who grew up, maybe not grew up, but their life was a stripper, right? And then you have shows like P Valley.
Oh,
making money off of that life.
I think it's again, I think it depends on why they ended in that life. Were you there out of necessity, or were you there because you saw that as an opportunity to make money legally using yourself doing whatever it is you knew how to do?
I think it's a little bit of both, and it depends on the circumstance and the situation, obviously.
Right. But I mean, they don't, I guess I can't tie that to the bando, the life of a dope boy.
Why?
Only reason why I don't is just because I mean, if you decide to be an adult dancer, you can do that legally. Morally, you might be, not celebrated, but legally, you ain't got no problems.
But it can still cause the same kind of trauma,
Can
considering
it?
that you didn't want to.
If you didn't,
I actually know someone
I mean, if you
that
didn't,
is, like
I would.
that was their way of life, and so going to a strip club now is not something that she would want to do.
But let me
She
ask
would
you this: you're speaking about to make the parallel. You're speaking about what we would be considering the dope boy. I don't know that. I don't know that a dope boy would have. I couldn't argue with a dope boy who said, "I'm not going to the bando because it takes me back to a dark place, and I don't want to. I don't want to go back there."
I'm speaking to the fact that we have strip clubs,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? And we have strip clubs that are like what we see on, well, we have women who are in situations like what we see on P Valley, right? On those shows, you have the undercover
Mm-hmm.
gangster, right? But then you have the woman who is about to get evicted, and she's doing it because she ain't got no other choice. You got the girl who needs tuition for school, whatever, right? You have all these other reasons that you need it. You need to do it, right? So these things are happening that are happening in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got somebody standing on the corner selling drugs because guess what? Their kids need shoes to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm,
a life that you're putting yourself into.
mm. I mean, I hear.
Some people, I'm not saying 100% of the people,
No,
right?
I
Just
hear.
like we know 100% of the strippers are not people that do it because they have to, they do it because they enjoy it, right? And there are some drug dealers out there that do it because they just want fast money, not because they have to.
I hear what you're saying, but I think personally, and I mean, Mumu Dev, y'all could chime in on this. I don't know that the parallel is equal. I think it's more of a thing of the bando is a trigger for could be a trigger for an entire community where P Valley is only gonna trigger people who lived that life intimately. Like I don't know that if there was a restaurant like a P Valley-ish version of the bando, that you could have a community of people who are triggered by its existence. But I think
So,
there's a lot
so
of
it
black.
matters because of the amount of people that are affected by it.
No, I'm saying I don't know that. I don't know that wholesale it has as much. The strip club doesn't have as much of a negative community wholesale problem like the bando does. That's I just my thoughts. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Not
Mumu,
saying
what,
individuals can't be triggered. I'm just saying like the entire community.
Mumu, what say you?
No, I wanted to go back to something that Walt was saying about reaching back to the community. And tell me if you remember this, Walt. This questions are directed at Walt and Crystal.
Oh God.
Right? Tell me if you can remember. Tell me when was the first time, and I could be remembered wrongly, incorrectly, but tell me when was the first time you met a character named Sugar B. Real name is Jason Morales, but when was the first time? Can you
Like I
recall?
just met him the other day for the first time.
I never met him.
Yeah,
Okay.
they never met him.
They never met him. Okay,
Not in
so
person, no.
I remember. Well, I'm sure Munch remembers. I remember when we were in college. It was homecoming, and Devin invited like half the block down. Not everybody came. Sugar B came.
What year was
Like
this?
that.
did Mike,
How did I miss that, Devin?
That's what I want to know.
was that
this,
Mike came, I believe?
yeah, this was freshman year because
That's
I think
why.
that, was there
because
a
I
shooting that year?
No.
there
Was it that year?
was no
Okay.
Yes.
no
Nope. That was.
there was
No, that was next year. Next year was a shooting because that's when they detained Books. Remember Books, and then performed during homecoming. That was
so
next year with the shooting.
so yeah, it was definitely freshman year because I didn't pledge yet.
Okay.
And yeah, and they came down, and I know what you're getting at, and it's talking about, I know what you're getting at because it talks about kind of reaching back
Yeah.
to the hood and bringing people out to see something different, and that is something that Move One Eyes always talked about and always tried to do. But the problem is that when you're so conditioned to where you are,
Right.
it's not as easy to
Is,
to kind
is
of
Sugar
branch out.
is Sugar be
Ew.
our age or is he younger?
Yeah, no, he's all
No,
right.
no, he's our age.
Donald's age.
And
He's
that's
right.
and that's I guess that's what I would think would be the dilemma with him because it's hard for you to have a peer telling you how to be better. But what I was speaking of was like older guys
Right. No, I
would,
get it. I
would
get it.
speak to the younger guys.
I think for us, I'm sorry, but I think for us, for Devin, at least Devin and I don't know that we had people that wouldn't
Yeah,
say, "Hey, I don't want you out here,"
yeah.
other than our family members.
Right.
But I think we were kind of by default. I don't know. I don't want to say by default, but we were kind of shielded because of who our family members were.
Right.
They knew not to try to recruit me because I was Remo's little brother. And, that wasn't going to happen. They knew not to mess with Devin because, that was D Steele's little brother. You know what I'm saying? So we had that type of relationship that shielded us from the streets. Not to
But
say
see-
that if we wanted to step out, we couldn't, but they knew not to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Little, come, you know what I'm saying? Come.
But see,
come.
but that's what I mean.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like your older brothers were the big homies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where this is the code. Your big
Right.
brothers could tell the rest of those guys
Yeah.
that's not how the game works. I'm
Right.
getting them out of here. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's still the same thing that I'm saying. Like for
Right.
me, it was my pops. My pops was still tied to the streets, kind of not like he was a street dude, but he knew a lot of the guys, uncles and brothers and dads. So it's like, yeah, nah, you just leave him alone. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
my dad will go talk to your peoples, and it's not something we got to have a conversation about. So the code was given somewhere, and I feel like we didn't give the code to that next generation because the guys who were in the streets who could have given that code left and never came back. Whether they couldn't come back, they didn't want to come back, maybe they were triggered, they just didn't do it.
I think,
And-
and I think, and I didn't mean to cut you off again, but
Are you good?
I think, I guess because I joined the conversation late, and I don't know what all you guys have said already, but I think for us, or at least for me, it's a combination of all those three of those things. It's I don't want to go back, but I do because I have family, and then I have friends that you still want to see.
You still
right?
want to
That you
see.
grew up with,
Correct.
right? You still have that nostalgia, right?
Right.
You can't really go back, at least from where from, because the amount of violence in the at any point, because if I go back now, I'm the new guy, right? They don't know me.
Exactly. That's
I've
what I was
been
going to
I've been
say.
there for 30 years, but I'm the new guy. So, anything could pop off. So when I come through, I roll through the block. If I don't see somebody that I know, I don't stop.
Mhm.
Right. And then the third point you were saying, I think it was they don't, you said they can't go back, they don't want to go back, or they're
just triggered by going back.
triggered by going back, right? So there are things that, there's certain smells, certain sights, some people that I'm seeing like, that are like 5, 6, 7 years younger than me. And I'm like, yo, why you don't have no teeth? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I should not, you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it is a triggering experience. But you do want to go back and hope that the people that you left behind, come forward with you, right? Even
But
in
see,
this late, but you
I
know
think-
that you can't take everybody with you,
But I think, Mumu, what you're talking about are people who you grew up with who you want to see out of that life, right? I'm talking about you're the new guy because you weren't in that life so heavy that a name was made for yourself within this younger, like just how your big brother had a
Right.
name. He had a
Right.
name, right? You got a name with some people, but like he had a name to shut down you being drug into something so negative. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, our not mentors, but our idols, have this longer reach than we do, right? We don't,
Right.
Mhm.
these are the Kodak Blacks and the Slim Thugs,
But
and
see, but to
these are
me,
these
your
people.
brother did. To me, your brother did his job. To me, Dev's brother did his job. They got you far enough detached from the life that you
Yeah.
knew what it was, but you weren't in it enough so
Yeah.
that you could be the name to have to
Mhm.
tell the next generation of kids, don't mess with this one because
Yeah.
Dev said so, because Mumu said so. It just, you know what I'm saying? So to me,
Yeah.
y'all big brothers did their jobs perfectly. You know what I'm saying? It might not be perfect to us as we seen it, but
Yeah.
when we
'Cause
look
I'm
at our
still
life,
perfect.
when we look at our lives now, you know what I'm saying? Like, think about it, right?
Yeah.
You're in Texas with all your teeth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Making
Yeah.
a very wonderful life for yourself, doing all of the things away from that life that you could possibly ever imagine. Dev, same thing for you. You're in Atlanta with all your teeth and soon to be endorsement deals by every major
Yo, come on,
budding
man.
um
Here we go,
of
boy.
upcoming clothing
It's happening.
urban clothing manufacturer
Influencer.
as you wear your
You wear the
distorted people's
hat.
hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is distorted people's hat. You know what I'm saying? You have that
Distorted
going
people.
for you because of what you were prevented from doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like they did their job. So you two wouldn't be the ones that would go back. It's the ones that you want to bring out with you are the ones who did not do their job and tell that younger generation, this is the way the game is played. Now, one or two of them might, but for the most part, they just didn't.
Well, I don't know. See, so I don't. I'll stop you right there and just kind of push back and say I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They may have, and it may have been a thing of they didn't want to listen because maybe the younger generation looking at the older person trying to tell them what to do or what not to do, that wasn't really they wasn't really leading by example per
then
se.
maybe they're not the ones. You know what I'm saying? The ones like I feel like the examples were set for us by it was telling us what not to do versus what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't tell you what not to do if I'm, you know, away and detached from that life.
Right.
But if I'm a part of that life and you know I'm a part of that life, if you know I'm out here trapping and I'm in the bando every day, I can tell you why not to be in the bando, and you have to respect it because I have made enough of a name for myself in this here bando that everybody got to respect it. But if I've been living in the hood, but I ain't never spent a day in the bando in my life, walk past it every day, but that's about it. These younger kids don't listen to what they can't respect, and they can't respect what they don't see actively doing what they're pursuing. You know what I'm saying?
It's just they don't make people like they used to anymore. I think that's what it is. We just don't make people the way and I'm not saying T.I. is a great role model, but look at T.I. and look at T.I.'s son now, right? Yeah, T.I. still a knucklehead for the most. I mean, I ain't gonna say for the most part, but he backslides every now and again.
Right.
He get caught up in some stupidness. But look at his son, and then what did he say? He said, my son just gonna have to learn. I done told him everything I could tell him.
So
I done put hands on him. His grandmama done talk to him. His mama done talk to him.
Yeah.
What can I do? He's just gonna have to learn the hard way.
Right.
Some people just don't want to. What did lyrics say? Right, Jada Pinkett. What did lyrics say in Jason's lyric? You can't save a brother that don't want to be saved.
But see now, and I'll say this before we wrap it up. In regards to King, I feel like he has a different level of pressure on him than I can really understand.
Okay.
Your father is Atlanta trap royalty. Do you
Your
really?
father.
No, I
That's your
get it.
father.
But what I'm saying is your father's Atlanta trap. Hold on. Your father's Atlanta trap royalty. You
And his
don't
father sat down for some years too.
you don't right, but you don't want to live. You don't want to live the life because it seems his older brother and even his sisters are living somewhat of a straight-laced life, and they're reaping the benefits of that. He's the middle kid.
I'm the middle kid.
He's not major.
Mhm.
But what else I'm saying, he's not major. He's not the money. He's not the girls, right? The money rapping. Major's just a young kid. King's in the middle. He's literally a middle kid. Like
But you have to want to do better for yourself.
I
You
agree.
can't
Oh, I
just be like,
agree.
oh well, because my
100%.
dad, like, no.
No,
Because
100%.
because
I get it.
they're celebrities, and I don't follow celebrities, so this is probably not the best example, but they're celebrities, and I'm like, what? You got a daughter that's what, 30 years old? Like, I didn't even know you had kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that point, it doesn't matter who your parents are. I mean, it does play a
it plays a part.
a role. But
Yeah.
I can't say that, because my parent is this person, I have this pressure. You did that to yourself. You put that pressure on yourself.
I can't disagree to that. I cannot.
Yeah.
But as a young person, he's 18 years old, right? 18, and he's able to carry guns, while out on social media at a much younger age, cussing people out and acting a monkey. I mean,
Because he has access to it.
a plum monkey, because he has access to it, and he goes unchecked. He goes unchecked. T.I.'s response is, I done told him he gonna have to learn the hard way. T.I. knows, because he said, I was that energy, so I know what that is.
Right.
T.I. also knows I can't say nothing to that boy. There's nothing I can say. What I'm gonna do? At 18 years old, what I'm gonna do? There's
That's
nothing.
we just don't make people the way we used to.
Well, this is my thought. My thought is, if T.I. put hands on that boy, if T.I. did anything crazy out the way to try to save what we would call saving his life, it's a whole other media circus, and now he's alienated that child even further and possibly pushed him deeper into some foolishness.
Yeah.
I would argue that as the middle kid of the Atlanta Trap King, T.I., I can't imagine the pressure he faces to have to try to make a name for himself in some way. You're not the baby. You can't rap like your older brother. You get punked and bullied since you was a little kid in school. What do? Like, you got to fight back somehow. And he just jumped into that lane ever since the video surfaced of him getting jumped in the bathroom and getting lumped up. It's like he jumped into that lane and never left it. Like, yeah, all right, cool. I'm gonna hold my own, and I'm a FaceTime little Boosie son, and we're gonna talk about shooting each other with BB guns or paintball guns or whatever we doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's he found attention in a lane that his father made popular, but social media gives him a platform to exist in. And he doesn't have any need to do it. Like, you have zero need.
Yeah.
What would T.I. say to him? Like, you ain't grow up.
So what's your point?
I don't know that King is a victim of bad or not the people that were made. Because I would argue that T.I. is one of the people that was made. Like what we talking about, Mumu. It's just a matter of that kid is in a position where he almost is like a perfect storm of foolishness that can't be controlled. Like who, how, and who, and what.
I'm not going to speak to the complexities of what he may be going through. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, and I don't want to just be like, yeah, his life wasn't hard because he had this money and all of the other stuff. And
You got business coming up with them, don't you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Look, they don't sneak in some sneaky stuff. Like, yeah, man, I'm working on
I'm
working on a whole multi-billion-dollar mall with them, man.
I don't.
We'll find out like 10 years from now.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, we'll find out 5 years.
Maybe 2.
See,
but no,
I knew it.
No. In all seriousness, no. I just want to be very careful to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because you really don't know what the dynamic of the household is, right? It could be, he could just really just be doing all of these things because of trauma of him getting jumped and them expecting him to be more and him feeling like he needs to live up to
Right.
what that is. Not his parents, but people on the outside.
Right. That's
right?
what I'm saying.
And then just him with that attention. But the thing that Mumu said, which I agree with, you're gonna have to deal with whatever attention, whatever energy you give off, you're gonna have to deal with what comes back from that. So
I agree.
you know, I wish him I pray for the young man, but you know, if you keep going down that road and you're gonna get what you're gonna get, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
I agree. I don't disagree. I think you're 100% correct. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like he's in a position that I cannot fathom to be in. You have to, like, the people expect you to respond in a certain kind of way, right? Damani carved his lane. Major has yet to carve a lane. His sisters have carved their lane. Who you? And if there's a video of Damani getting jumped in the bathroom, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he didn't deal with the same type of bullying that King might have dealt with. But I'm saying, like, if that video existed and it never seen the light of day, we might have seen a different Damani. Maybe when Major gets old enough, if something like that surfaces of him, maybe we'll see the same thing out of him. But that pressure, I remember when that video posted, and I remember like the cyber bullying that kid had to endure. But they talked about how he got beat up, and they talked about this. And you T.I.'s son, how you gonna let this happen? Yada 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 yada. He had to get on social media and either posture, stick his chest out, and act like I'm the man because I don't want to make my daddy look bad, and y'all ain't finna punk me. At least that's how I saw it. Or
if that's the case,
maybe that's just him.
If that's the case, well, then you know that's a deeper conversation, and that's the responsibilities of the parents to basically be like, yo, you don't need to portray whatever it is you feel like you need to portray for others, right?
But like you said, maybe they did.
But I was going to say, and it may seem like I'm waffling, but I'm really not, because I experienced this. Like, people are who they are, kids are who they are, and they're going to do what they want to do. Case in point, you know, we tell our son all the time, you know, you don't need to get caught up in what people say, or you don't need to get caught up in appearance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want that to dictate how you move, because once somebody says something bad about you or say something negative about how you look, you're going to feel a certain type of way. Now, we can instill this in them all day, all the time. But the fact of the matter is that young man is really big on appearance still, because that's just who he is, right? So, you know, it goes back to, you know, what T.I. said. I done did everything. I done said everything. He just gonna have to learn.
Right. I agree.
So, with that being said, man, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yep. I put my gloves on.
I know. I was like, what is this OJ?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like,
you about to work out?
What kind of COVID
Nah,
response?
these is my
Are you exfoliating your hands?
No, they're just gloves.
Oh,
they was on my desk. They was on my desk as we was recording. I picked them up. I put them on.
Oh, okay. All right.
No reason.
Just something weird that Walt would do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, got you. I want to thank Brother Mumu for coming on.
I got balls too. See?
That's what's up. I want to thank Mumu for coming on.
That water was real cold.
And contributing to the topic. A very good discussion, man. We appreciate you. Hey, man, where can people find you, man? Tell them about your business. What you got going on?
So great. So I have a transport business called ITI Transports. ITI stands for I'll Take It.
You'll take it to the bando?
No, I'm not going to the bando. But if it fits on my truck and it's not too heavy, then I'll take it. Right. That's where that concept came from. So ITI Transports.
I mean, stuff from the bando will fit on your truck.
Possibly.
Oh my God.
Possibly.
Well, okay.
But I do have a dispatcher. I will go to all 48 states. But I currently travel through the Midwest and East Coast.
Good.
And yeah, that's it.
How can they find you? Website, IG.
So I do have a website.
Okay.
I'm still working on building that. But I do have a website. It's a Wix website. And I know I'm not on IG. Again, I have a dispatcher that finds all the loads for me. So, but if you did want to have me move something, you could call me
What's the number?
directly at
Sounds like dope.
803-979-4865.
Say that one more time.
803-979-4865. And I will move your stuff if I can get it in my schedule.
Good.
Word
Thank
up.
you. ITI Transport. We'll make sure to promote that so that we can get you some business.
Are you still doing the custom woodworking?
I'm kind of limited. I'm kind of limited right now. I did make a custom cutting board for a friend of ours that pulls out from underneath the cabinet, and it sits over. They have a trash can that's underneath the cabinet that they pull out in a kind of a drawer, and the cutting board actually pulls out above the trash can. Has an 8-inch cutout, 8x4-inch cutout. So once they finish cutting up their vegetables or whatever, any excess that they want to throw away, they just slide through that hole. So that was the last thing I did. Actually, I did some plexiglass work as well with my laser engraver here, not a couple of days ago actually. But if I get this transportation business, running like I want to, then I would seriously think about revisiting my woodwork, because that's my safe space.
Hey man, you did some dope work for me, man, for my pops, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Come on.
Crystal, you got anything you want to say before we roll?
No. Bye, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
Appreciate the opportunity to finally get on.
Hey man,
Yes.
you was always welcome. We could blame Dad for that.
Always.
Yeah. Yes. I took the shot. I didn't say where I was aiming. But I did take the shot.
Don't worry, man. We know where it was going. We know, brother. We know the truth, man.
So subscribe, follow us, leave comments. We're always open to criticism, positive criticism, and
negative
feedback.
too. We can get negative.
We'll take the negative. We'll take the negative too. We'll take the good with the bad. But needless to say, thank you all for staying.
I return negative energy with pettiness.
What?
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And with that being said, we out. Peace.
What was that one?
That was the gun.
So are your gloves off? Oh.
I got the gloves off. Bang!
What's this garden hose?
Are you still recording? Peace to the people. It's your boy Dad. Listen, man. Follow, like, subscribe. 5 Things Off the Wall. We are available on YouTube and IG. 5 Things Off the Wall. 5TOTW. Peace.